We have 11 amazing restaurants featuring a wide variety for every price range and appetite. South Point's Garden Buffet has something for everyone at unbeatable prices. Or, if hunger strikes in the middle of the night, join us at Coronado Cafe. The American menu offers breakfast, lunch, or dinner 24 hours a day, plus a Chinese kitchen for authentic Chinese dishes from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. From steak and eggs to wonton soup, it's fast and friendly service 24/7. When you need a quick pick-me-up, you can find it at our state-of-the-art Starbucks just inside the main South Point entrance. Order ahead with the Starbucks app for easy mobile order pickups. Or enjoy your favorites in the relaxing dining area anytime, day or night. If you love Mexican food, Baja Miguel's has all of your south-of-the-border favorites. There are dozens of classics to choose from, like fajitas, ceviche, chimichangas, tacos, and more. And for spirit lovers, Baja's colorful non-smoking tequila bar is right outside. Or maybe you're in the mood for seafood. Big Sur Oyster Bar has fresh seafood prepared right before your eyes. Savor freshly shucked oysters, crab legs jambalaya, shrimp and lobster. Beers on tap and a selection of fine wines are perfect to pair with your seafood favorite. Whether lunch or dinner, you'll love this fun atmosphere, located just off the casino floor. Ready to shake things up? Step back in time and treat yourself to one of the oldest restaurant chains in the country. Steak and Shake, famous for original mouth-watering steak burgers and hand-dipped milkshakes in a variety of flavors. For some old-fashioned fun, try Steak and Shake.
Hey folks, welcome to Sports by the Book. I am Kenny White. It is Happy Friday the 13th. I guess that's how I got into a superstition conversation with myself this morning on my show. It is Friday the 13th. People are superstitious. I'm not sure. 13's never been a number I like. 13's not a number. If you go to a hotel and you go in the elevator, there's never a 13th floor. It's amazing. And I think that I think the Chinese have a different number that they skip a floor in their elevators. But yeah, they don't put a 13 on there. Obviously, there is a 13th floor. It's just the 14th floor now. So it is Friday the 13th, and we have a lot of sports going on. It's been a nice week for me, a little bit of a break, college basketball. It's exam week for a lot of the schools. Next week will be exam week for another good portion of the schools, but not quite as many. This is the major week for exams in college. And then it coincided with the NBA Commissioner's Cup, the Emirates Cup, which was really nice as well. So I've been able to catch up on a lot of work and then even start to put some preliminary work for myself together for college baseball, because that's what I like to bet. And the women's college basketball also has been very good, and it's given me a little bit more time to work on some of that. So that's nice. Let's go to NBA today. Back first time full schedule today. Most of these teams have been off 4 or 5 days, well rested. Some played in the Emirates Cup. I didn't really point those out, but we'll go over a couple of these teams. It's not going to be an advantage or disadvantage either way. Could be a letdown from teams that lost in the Emirates Cup, teams that didn't play, and it's not going to mean a whole lot. Washington at Cleveland today. I have the Cavs. They're having an amazing year. Cleveland off to a great start, and they've got a great rotation. I really like their team. When you have 2 rim protectors and 2 defensive players that'll help you be a little bit more aggressive on defense, that always helps, and that's what Cleveland has. Again, I have this game 20 and 225. I don't really like the total under because of a 20-point favorite. You get a big favorite like that, you feel that they're going to score a ton of points. Now, I know you can get the favorite team, the Cavs in this case, can play great defense and hold Washington down to a very low number. But Washington has played a little bit up-tempo this year. Number of the sportsbook, 17. I have a 3-point difference. I'm not going to touch it. It's not enough value for me. Anything can happen that late. Fourth quarter, Cleveland could rest all of their starters and have their second string in, and Washington, makes a comeback and gets a backdoor cover. So I'll pass that. If I was to bet anything, I would maybe look at the first half in this game and bet the first half. Cleveland is a 10-point favorite, 10.5 at the South Point right now, 10.5 and 119 in the first half. So I would take a look at that. If I had to make a bet on the game, it'd probably be Cleveland in the first half minus the 10.5. Indiana is at Philadelphia tonight. Joel Embiid is back, but we know obviously he is nowhere near 100% or midseason form. So you've always got to worry about that. So my rating right now that I feel that I have on this team, it's like a midseason form Embiid number, but he's nowhere near that. And I have a difference in the game. I have the Sixers 9, 235.5, and at the South Point, we're looking at 6.5. They opened 6, Chrissy and team, and there's a little bit of value for me. But then again, when I talk about Embiid and my number and him being midseason form rating, I'm not going to lay the points. No way, because if I took off just 10% of his rating, I would be down to 8, and we're basically a point and a half. We're splitting hairs. The total I have 235.5. I do like it over. I think Embiid will be really good offensively, and his defense is going to take some time to come around. Now, obviously, his offense isn't in midseason form, but he's a scorer. Indiana, we know, likes to run and get up tempo. So this game opened 227, the total at the South Point, up to 228. That is a play for me today. Indiana, the Pacers and Sixers over. Lakers at the Timberwolves. LeBron is out. His value has gone down over the years. Looking at his production so far this year, his production has been down, but he has had a couple of big games. I think LeBron is really saving himself, and he knows that he doesn't have what he used to have. Even as of last year, he's down a little bit. But I'm just wondering if he's just saving himself. I still have him worth 4.5 points in the betting line, but with him out, I've got Minnesota a 13-point favorite. I like this lineup. I think they're very, very good. I love Conley at guard. Edwards is an outstanding rising star in the NBA. Gobert at center is tough, and they put together a nice defensive team. Even then, I say that I like Minnesota minus the 8.5, but I also like the total over. I have it 221.5. South Point numbers looking at the opener 214, bet down to 213 now. I would have gone over 214 if that would have been the number. So now you're kind of giving me just a bonus of another point. I'm going over with that game tonight. I have the Timberwolves minus the points and over. That's correlated parlay. Minnesota's got to put up a big number here in this game. Brooklyn and Memphis. Morant and Bane both sat out the last game, got him a little extra rest. That's what I thought the Lakers were doing with LeBron when I saw he missed the last game, because he really hadn't missed any before. But he has a foot injury, and he has not been 100%. But I thought they gave him the last game off before this kind of break. So I thought he'd be back today, but no. Again, in Memphis, Morant and Bane missed their last game, but they are both back today. I have Memphis 11 and 232.5. South Point numbers, Memphis 10 and 229. This game opened 230.5 at the South Point. I agree with that number. So South Point will need this over as of right now. By the end of the day, we have no idea. There could be a lot of changes with the line. There obviously is every day. Charlotte at Chicago. Charlotte still LaMelo Ball out. Very valuable player. I've got him worth 6 points to the betting line. With him out, I have the Bulls 8 and 218. This total much, much higher. 231.5 at South Point, but it has been bet down there to 231. I agree with the under. There are 231.5s out there. There is a 232 out there. 14-point difference for me. Without LaMelo Ball in the lineup, he is such a big-time scorer. Bridges is also out for Charlotte. So I think it's a lack of firepower to ask these two weak basketball teams to get to 232. It can happen if they don't play defense. If they play a little defense at all and have one bad quarter, we can get that under. The Clippers are at the Nuggets tonight. James Harden, who sat out the last game before the break, he is back for the Clippers. Jamal Murray has been out. he is questionable, and I've got him back in the lineup. I put him back in. With him in the lineup, I have the Denver Nuggets an 11-point favorite and a total of 230. They're right now 6.5. South Point open 6.5. There's been no movement on the Nuggets, and the total 227.5 is right around my number when I made this game. But I do like Denver tonight, minus the 6.5, and we've got 6 on the screen. I'll take it if it was bet down to 6. No problem with me. That's just a bonus. There are some 6s out there. Utah Jazz, and they'll host the Phoenix Nuggets tonight. Durant is back. Nurkic is back for Phoenix. I didn't realize, a couple of weeks ago when I was looking at Nurkic and seeing his value, because the backup, it's the value. I don't do replacement over the average player. I do the replacement over their backup. Sometimes a team can have a above average backup, and sometimes they get a below average backup. But for Phoenix, Nurkic worth 4 points to the betting line, more than Durant. Durant worth 3.5 to the betting line. So, but both those guys back makes them a really big favorite in this game. I've got them a 12-point difference. Can't give a lot of home court in this game just because the visitor is that much better. But I've got this game 10 after giving a little home court and taking off 20% because I don't like to bet favorites. Phoenix right now opened 6.5 at the South Point, up to 8. So this game definitely moved my way 1.5 points. I'm not going to lay 8 in the game. Now, there is only one way I will lay 8 here, is if I find out Lauri Markkanen is not playing for Utah. He's worth 4.5 points to the betting line. He has been in and out of the lineup, and he is their best player for sure. So make sure you check that. If Markkanen's not out, we want to lay the 8 and get it before it moves, because once he's out, once folks know he's out, this line's going to 10 easily. Still, questionable is all I have on him. Portland and San Antonio. San Antonio, I have a 5-point favorite, total of 220. South Point open 3.5. They've stayed steady at 3.5. Had dropped to 4. Dropped to 3, back up to 3.5. The total 223.5. Now at 225. So I have a slight lean to the under there. If I just saw the opening number 223.5, I'm passing. So it was bet up into a play. I don't like to bet against the steam. I feel like it's going to be a coin flip at that point. So I'll pass there. So Sixers over today, 228. The Minnesota Timberwolves minus 8.5 and over. Chicago Bulls under 232. Nuggets minus 6.5. And we may be on the Phoenix Suns today if Lauri Markkanen is not playing, if we get to that information in time. Hey, Christmas Day, there's numbers up in a lot of places, Christmas Day games already. Let me see here, my board, and can tell you kind of some of the places. Not yet at the South Point, not yet at stations. Caesars has them up, DraftKings has them up. Always a big day, Christmas Day, NBA. So I've got 3 plays that I've already circled here from numbers I see in the market. I'll just give you those 3 instead of going over every game. San Antonio plays the Knicks early game in the morning. I made that total 233. It's 225.5 right now. So go get you some over 225.5, that 9 a.m. game. Give you something to do early in the morning on Christmas Day. Dallas is the second game. They're hosting Minnesota. I'm under there, 228.5. I made it 219.5. The Golden State Warriors are hosting the Lakers. This game's at 3.5. Hey, right now with LeBron's foot, who knows if he's going to be out for a while. I've got Golden State 7 with LeBron in. If LeBron doesn't play, I'd make this around 11. Golden State right now just 3.5. Surprising, just 3.5. So get you some Golden State minus 3.5. That's my Christmas present to you. The Phoenix Suns over in the nightcap. They're playing the Denver Nuggets over 225.5. I don't have a huge difference. I have it 230.5. So the only game I didn't bet was the Philadelphia 76ers at the Boston Celtics. And the Celtics are 9 and 228. I have 8.5 and 226. I think if you look through the last couple of games played for these teams, maybe you can find a revenge factor for Philadelphia. Embiid, if he gets a couple more games in by that time, it's going to be in better shape. I would look to maybe take Philly if they have revenge. Not sure if they have home revenge or not. But if they did, I would look to take Philly plus the 9. One hockey game. Let's knock that. Well, let's stay basketball. I'm sorry, Sean. I told you I did basketball next. I'll do that. Short schedule today. Again, exam week for colleges. Looking at the schedule, the first game, Georgia Tech. Always look at the South Point odds. Georgia Southern at Louisiana Tech. I have Louisiana Tech 13 and 141. Number right there at the South Point. Louisiana Tech, the favorite, 11.5 and 144. South Point opened 146 and was bet down to 144. And I do see a 146. I see a lot of 146s. So that may go back up. I'm in at 141. I don't agree with the over. I think this is more of an under game. Georgia Southern does run. They're 6-4 over on the year. Louisiana Tech 5-3 over on the year. So both teams have a little bit of over trends. I'm not betting it under. I'm passing there. Nebraska Omaha at Northern Iowa. I have Northern Iowa 16 and 147. This total was 139.5. It's now up to 142, 142.5 at the South Point. This went in the right direction, what I thought it would do. And at that number now, it's a pass for me. I got some other plays that I think are better. This next game is one of those, Indiana at Nebraska. Mike Woodson's got a solid team at Indiana. So does Fred Hoiberg at Nebraska. He's done a nice job there. But I only have this game, Nebraska 1 and 146.5. South Point opened 4.5 or 4. They opened 4. We're bet up to 4.5. I took the 4.5 with Indiana. They also have revenge from last year. They lost both games to the Cornhuskers. So I think that's big. You got to factor that in. I would have Indiana the favorite here, 1.5. So plus the 4.5 and a little sprinkle on the money line. I also lean to the under, even though, when I say that, I'll pass the under because both of these teams play very fast. Both have very efficient offenses, but both defenses are very, very good as well. So the defenses are there. It's just there's going to be a pace. There's going to be possessions. If the defense has any lapses whatsoever, there could be some scoring spurts in this game. So I will pass the total. I think the side is a much, much better play. So, Western Michigan at St. Thomas. St. Thomas, I have 8.5 and 153. They're 11.5, 147.5. I like the game over. I'm passing the side. I don't think I have enough value there in the side to take Western Michigan. I don't want to go against John Tower, the head coach for St. Thomas. Really good basketball coach. He's been there a while. His team is 8-2 to the over this year. They're playing at home. They're very efficient offensively. Both teams extremely weak on the defensive end. So that gives me an overplay there in St. Thomas in Western Michigan over the 147.5. Weber plays Utah State tonight, a Utah State rivalry game. You have Weber 2.5, 133. Weber right now at the South Point 3.5. They opened 2.5. Was bet up. The total 142.5 up to 144. Very surprised to get over money for this game. I went under 142.5 myself. And now you can go under 144. I have an 11-point difference in this game. Both teams play slow, especially Weber State. They're a very slow team. We know they're going to slow it down on the road. And offensively, Utah Tech has been horrendous. They can't score. Now, the defenses are nothing to write home about, but both bad offensive teams and both play slow. So I'm under in that one, under the one. I went under 42.5. You can go under 44. South Dakota State and Colorado. South Dakota State let me down the other day. I took them. They were my dog of the day against Nevada, and they had a 7-point lead at halftime, taking 11.5. You think you're home free in that, and you're not. Nevada made a huge run in the second half, put up 47 points against South Dakota. I have Colorado 6.5 and 148.5. No more to do with South Dakota State, but a lot of times I always say, every time I lose on a team, they usually come back and they win the next one. So maybe South Dakota does cover here, but I'm not interested. Made the total 148.5, a little lean to the over. Both teams are a little above average in pace. They like to push it. Both teams have above average offenses, but the defenses for these teams take me off of it. Both teams' defenses are better than their offense, especially Colorado. Their defense, Tad Boyle's defense, has been tremendous. So I'll pass there. Army and George Washington, nothing really in this game. I made George Washington 12 and 150. Right now, the line at South Point, 12 and 150. We're right on the number. The last game of the night, well, last game on the schedule. It's not the last game of the night. It is a 4 o'clock tip-off. Boston U is at Merrimack. Two veteran coaches that have been at their school for a while. Joe Jones is at Boston in his 14th year. Joe Gallo is at, not to be confused with Joey Gallo, baseball player that I coached. Joe Gallo is at Merrimack, and he's in his 9th year there. Both these teams play slow. Boston U, one of the slowest teams in the country. I feel like Joe Jones is running the Princeton offense. They are running slow. Both are horrendous offensive teams. Merrimack, a really solid defensive basketball team. Boston U is 7-3 to the under this year. Merrimack 5-5. Their totals have been low, but I don't think this one's low enough. I made Merrimack 4.5. That's right on the number. Right now, the South Point Merrimack 4. But the total I have 118.5, and we can get under 127. I even see 127.5s out there, and I see a 128 at a local downtown spot. So under in that game. Really, 4 plays for you in college hoops. One side I like Indiana plus the 4.5. St. Thomas over 148.5. Utah Tech under 144, and Merrimack and Boston U under 127. One game on the ice tonight. I don't think I have anything there. When I say that, I probably will. You know, sports betting, when you make your own numbers, sometimes it doesn't look like there's anything there. And then all of a sudden, just that one small play wins. Last week in the FCS, I didn't think I had anything there. It didn't look like I had anything because I've been betting it all year. And I've had some games where there's 10, 12, 14-point differences where I made the game 10 and I'm taking 4 all year long. And I got the best of the number 91% of the time. But when I looked last week, it just didn't look like there were any differences at all. There were. I could have bet up to 9 games. I bet 7 of them and won all 7. If I would have bet all 9, I would have been 9-0. And there wasn't that big of differences. So, you know, when your work is good and your numbers are close, they're still strong and they're still bettable, even though they may be close. I do like bigger differences because I feel like I have a better play. But 2.5-point differences in basketball is enough for a play. Totals, I like to have 5 points. And football's the same way. I go 2.5-point differences on the sides, and I can go 3.5-point differences on the totals. NHL, Carolina, I made $1.88 and 6.5 over a quarter. The only trend I see in this game, Ottawa has gone over 3 straight. The number in this game right now at the South Point, Carolina $1.90, and I'm going to look to go over here with the Ottawa Senators, who've gone over 3 straight road games. I made it 6.5 over 28. You can go over 6. Minus $1.20 at the South Point. You may be able to find $1.15 by shopping around. I always say to shop around. And that's my one play. So I thought there wasn't nothing there, but there was. Maybe that's the dandy. Maybe that's the winner of the day. All right, college football. I'm going to give you two breakdowns. If I can find the Army-Navy. I wanted to go over those Army-Navy scores. The Army-Navy game's always a close one. And I don't know if I have my Army-Navy breakdown in front of me, but that's okay. I talked about it the other day with you guys. I'm on the dog here in this game. I'm on Navy, plus the points. I feel like it's a lot of points. I know Army's had a great year. These two are just such big rivals, and the scores of their games are just so close, and they're very low scoring. Points at a premium. The South Point opened up this total 40.5. They're down to 39. Over the last, I've got the last 11 years of my spreadsheet. Army, Navy. The median final score, Navy 17, Army 16. These two have played 120 times, and Navy leads the series 58-55, 7 ties. 3 games differentiate them after 120 years. Obviously, some years one team's going to be better, and there may be blowouts. 2000 and boy, my numbers on my spreadsheet changed. I hate when dates change. 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 24, 23, 22, 20, 2019. 2019. Navy was a top 20 team. Navy was number 21 in the country, and they won the game 31-7. So high scoring. They got 31. That's the most points any of these teams have scored. It's amazing. Looking at all these scores, only 3 times in the last 11 years has one of the teams scored more than 20 points. And Navy scored 31 the year they were ranked 21st. The year before that, in 2018, Army was ranked 22nd. Army won the game 17-10. And then 2015, Navy was the favorite. Navy was 21st in the country. They were ranked. They lost. Actually, they did not lose. They won. They didn't cover. 21-17 Navy. So there's 2 of the higher scoring games in this series. Looking back just at 2022, the game finally went over. I think it was 16 straight unders. And that year would have gone under as well, but it went in double overtime. And the final was still 20-17. Last year, 17-11. The Army. I wouldn't mind taking that final. I'll take that final any day, plus 6.5. So very low scoring. We've got 2 good quarterbacks. Navy is vastly improved. I know the Army coach, I guess, has been mentioned for some jobs outside of Army. Jeff Munkin, maybe he goes. Is that a distraction? Was an extra game on the schedule, playing that against Tulane, a little bit more of a knockout punch that makes you a little bit weaker, where Navy had the week off and had that time to prepare for this game and think about this game. So they could be the team that's all wound up and ready to go and fired up and, jump out to an early lead in the game and never trail. So I like the midshipmen here in this one. I think it's going to be a close game. I took the 6.5. One more game, and I'll get you out of here for the day. Sports by the Book, and the schedule of all the great shows. South Point Studios on YouTube. Football Frenzy, 3 days a week. Football Frenzy with Chris, Jimmy, and Vinny, and Jeff Parles. Mondays, 3 to 4. They take you up to that NFL Monday night game. Thursdays, 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock, and every Friday for 2 hours, 2 o'clock today to 4 o'clock. Punchlines with Frank Nicotero, Monday to Friday, 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock. Race Day Las Vegas, Ralph Sirocco. I saw Ralph yesterday. Sorry, Ralph. Wednesday to Sunday, 7 a.m. Ralph does his show, Race Day Las Vegas. And then Gone Racing is on vacation right now. They are usually on Thursdays, but they will be back with a Super Bowl Daytona 500 hits in February. So we'll be back to Gone Racing at that point. Great week at the South Point. It is Rodeo Week National Finals. Get over there. If you're a people watcher, great place to be. Get to the South Point. A lot of fun, a lot of great music, and obviously a lot of great games to play over there as well. One more breakdown for you. Idaho plays Montana State. This game right now, South Point, give you the opener. This game goes tonight. South Point opened Montana State 12.5. And the total, 55.5. It's up to 57. That's what you got right there on the board. Montana State, 14.5 and 57. I've got Montana State 17 and 62 are my true numbers on this game. Let's see what I sent out here. Oh, you know what? I don't know if I put it on that sheet. This was a game that I didn't have on the board. I forgot about it the other day. Was wondering if this was a game that was going to be played. Only because it wasn't on my sports screen. Let me give you a rundown of the coaches. Jack X, the head coach at Idaho. He was an offensive lineman in college at Wisconsin. He knows the game is won in the trenches. I think he's going to be an excellent head coach. He may be a guy that UNLV should look at. I really think so. He was an assistant 1 year at Montana State. That's who they're playing this weekend. Then he went to South Dakota State, and he was there for 6 years. He was the offensive line coach for 6 years, and then he was the offensive coordinator the last 3 years. So he got the job, he got the position, he moved up in the organization. And South Dakota State over that time is one of the powerhouses of FCS. They were the top team over that 6-year period. And he moved to Idaho, got the job. Idaho, the 3 previous years before Eck, won 5 games, 2 games, and 4 games. They won 11 games in the 3 years. Eck won 7 his first year as the Idaho head coach, and he won 9 last year. He's won 10 this year. 10 wins for Jack Eck. He's 26-12 as the head coach there. This guy can coach. He knows how to coach. Maybe UNLV should take a look at him. I should call the athletic director. He wanted to hire a guy with experience, and Jack Eck has it. Probably be a perfect guy for this spot. Brent Vigen, the head coach of Montana State, he's been there 4 years now. This is his 4th year. He's done an outstanding job with this program. He's 13-0 this year. They're from Bozeman, Montana. The stadium's a field turf. It's Bobcat Stadium. Before Vigen was at Montana State, he was a long-time assistant. 7 years at Wyoming. He was the offensive coordinator and quarterback coach. He was offensive coordinator the last 4 years. Before that, he was at North Dakota State for 15 years. 15 years in North Dakota State. He played at North Dakota State. He was a tight end, and he's been a quarterback's coach. So guy knows tight end play. That's offensive line mixed in. So he knows games are won in the trenches. He knows how valuable the tight end is, and he knows how to coach quarterbacks. He's done a tremendous job with this team. He has a redshirt senior quarterback, Tommy Mellott. Mellott, you're not going to believe these stats. And I'm going to look at the schedule and see the best teams that they've played. They already have played Idaho this year. And Idaho is the best team they've played. And it was one of the best games that they've played this year. It was at Montana State. Montana State won the game 38-7. There is an asterisk. I'll tell you about that in a second. So Tommy Mellott, the redshirt senior quarterback from Montana State, 71% completions, 9.4 yards a pass. Hold on, buckle your seatbelts. 26 touchdown passes, 1 INT. One. Oh my gosh! Are you kidding me? I don't know. I've seen this every once in a while. You see these type of numbers. 26 touchdowns, 1 INT. The best team they played this year is Idaho, and now they're playing them again. They won 38-7. They won the turnover battle that day by 2. I'm going to look real quick for you, Bozeman, Montana tonight and the weather to make sure it's not windy. Because with a quarterback like that, you know they're going to score points. Their median score this year, 41-17. The Idaho game was 38-7. And Idaho's got a really good defense. Idaho's median score, 31-24. I wish I could say Montana State was the best team they played. It's not. They're the second best team they played. They played Oregon. Idaho opened the season with Oregon. At Oregon. What do you think the score was? 63-7? No, it wasn't. 24-21. Oregon beat Idaho 24-21. Idaho has lost at Cal Davis 28-26. They lost the turnover battle by 2. It was one of their better performances of the year. They lost at Montana State. So that's their 3 losses. They should not have lost that game. Idaho's quarterback, Jack Lane. He was injured in the first game of the year against Oregon and then missed about 5 or 6 games. Jack Wagner, a freshman, redshirt freshman, stepped in and did okay. 55% passes, 8.1 yards a pass, 13 touchdowns, 6 INTs. Jack Wagner, that's him. That's the redshirt freshman who played. And he played in about 7 games. 8 games because he played in the Portland State game. Jack Lane returned in week 9 against Eastern Washington. Good team. They beat him 38-20. Covered the spread. Jack Lane missed the next game. He's a sophomore. But then he returned for Weber, who they beat 31-24. Then they beat Idaho State 40-17 on the road, and then they beat Lehigh 34-13 last week. Jack Lane's numbers on the year. Remember I gave you Wagner, the freshman, 55%, 8.1 a pass. Lane, 64%, 9.8. Malott, the quarterback for Montana, is 9.4. So Lane at 9.8. Touchdowns, INTs, Lane 12-3 on the year. I didn't really go back and look to see if he threw any interceptions against Oregon. Because obviously you play a big-name school like Oregon. He did. He threw one. One touchdown, one INT. He really struggled. He got sacked 4 times in that game, 11 for 25 against the Ducks. But his team stayed in the game because of that defense. And I was going to make a case for the over because I made it 62. I lean to the over, but it's such a big game. There is no wind. It's going to be freezing cold there tonight. Looking at the weather, 30 degrees. It's clear, partly cloudy, winds under 10 miles an hour. So it's going to be a really cold football night. Not too cold, but in the 30s. Idaho's used to that cold weather. That's not going to hurt them. This number opened 12.5 up to 14.5. I wish I could give you something there. I want to lean to the over, but I just can't. I really want to lean to Idaho because of their starting quarterback, that he hasn't lost since he's been there. And Montana State will celebrate like they won the Super Bowl if they win by 7. So I'm going to, even though I made the game 17, there is revenge factor. I didn't take that out. I make that 14.5 and take off the 20% of what I take off on favorites. That's almost 3 points. I can make this game 11.5 just with those adjustments. I'm gonna bet Idaho tonight. I'm taking 2 touchdowns in the game, 2 touchdowns and a hook with Idaho tonight. I think they're going to be in this. I think it's going to be close. I think they take them down to the wire. And again, Montana State gets the win, but it's going to be a close one. So that's it for me today. You guys have a great weekend. I'll be back Monday morning with Alex, 9 a.m. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays is our day together at the South Point. And then you can catch Alex and Jeff Parles tomorrow at 8 a.m. on Saturday, and then 9 a.m. on Sunday. Alex White, Jeff Parles, Sports by the Book. And don't forget, Football Frenzy today, 2 o'clock. Don't forget, Punchlines at noon. Just stay right here in the South Point studios, folks. Please like and subscribe, and have a great day, and good luck in the betting windows.